KXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge.
If you have a big gathering or work event coming up, give the crowd something you know they will love. Tacos from Government Taco. They offer pickup, delivery, and full-service catering. Choose from proteins including the spicy and sweet smoked chicken, smoked pulled pork, or the sweet and savory chili rub ground beef. Then sides like charred tomatillo salsa, roasted hatch chili queso, and all catering orders come with jack cheese, pickled red onions, and flour or corn tortillas. Order online now at govttaco.com. In tacos we trust. Government Taco.
Anytime. Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And a pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome to Anytime 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff. Casey Gaines in today for Mario Jerez and Taylor Sharp with us as well. Thank you for making us a little part of your day. Patrick Coogan, former LSU Tiger, with us here in about 15 minutes. Get his take on LSU's game last night against Texas. And bottom of the hour, we do first class, second class, no class on Wednesdays. So that's coming up a little bit later on in the show. But we start today with that baseball game last night in Texas. We talked with Bill Franquez yesterday. This was a strange quirk in the schedule, if you will. Rarely does LSU play a school of this magnitude in a midweek game, and it just so happened that they could work it into the schedule after they went to Round Rock. For the record, I think this is fantastic. I wish it were feasible to bring Big 12 schools into the box, or for LSU to go to Big 12 schools. I know Texas is about to come into the league, but if they, it would be great if LSU could go play a game with Baylor, a game with Texas Tech, or something like that in the middle of the week. But schedule-wise, it's not really feasible. So this is great. The inevitable question comes up every year, usually after LSU drops a game to McNeese or Southeastern or La Tech or whatever. Do midweek games matter? I've maintained this my entire life that I've been asked about this question. Do midweek games matter? Yes, they matter for development. No, they rarely, if ever, make much of a difference when it comes to RPI. And so that still holds here, but this felt a little bit bigger. Is this game going to be the difference between whether LSU hosts a regional or not? I seriously doubt it. There would be like a 1/10 of one chance of a percent that this game would be the one that puts them over the top, or to be a top 8 national seed versus a non-top 8 national seed. So from that standpoint, it's 1 out of 56. But from a standpoint of development, last night's game I thought was really, really important. This was an SEC atmosphere. This was an SEC quality opponent. This is exactly what you were going to see in the first 3 weeks of the SEC season when you play A&M, who I know is off to a slow start, Tennessee, and Arkansas. It's got that, and I don't care what Texas's record is either. I know what the baseball program is over at the University of Texas. Believe me, they'll figure it out. So you go out there, and for a guy like Thatcher Hurd, this is your opportunity to go on the road, to experience some turbulence, if you will, some trouble, and see how you handle it. Last week at home, first start, long layoff for Thatcher Hurd. First game that he pitched at LSU, probably the biggest crowd that he has played in front of in his college career. I know it was a midweek game at LSU. Trust me when I tell you, 4,500 people is probably a 20-year record at UCLA, okay? They just don't – it's Los Angeles, man. They got other things to do than college baseball. Here, it's a big, big part of our culture. So he goes out there and he doesn't pitch very well. Here's a chance for him to come back and say, listen, this is a pitcher that we want to ascend into the starting rotation. Let's see if you can handle Dish Falk. And he goes out, and I thought the first inning was massive because he goes out and he walks 2, and he gives up 2 very hard-hit balls. But both of the hard-hit balls were at somebody. One of them to the left fielder, the other one to the shortstop, and Thompson makes a nice pick, goes back to the bag, gets the double play. If you give up 2 walks and 2 line drives in the first inning, you're supposed to give up runs, and he didn't. So you get a little bit of baseball fortune, and they avoid what Skip Bertman always called the inevitable 2. The inevitable 2 is that 2 runs in the first inning when the pitcher's not quite used to the mound, when he hasn't quite figured out the umpire's strike zone, when the adrenaline is flowing through the home team. Bertman always called it the inevitable 2. Truth be known, without a little bit of good fortune, Thatcher Hurd probably gives up the inevitable 2 last night, if not more. The inevitable 2 became 3 on Saturday for Riley Cooper after he gave up the home run. But after he got out of that, I thought it really boosted his confidence. And when he got the double play in the 3rd inning, I thought that he really started to feel it, and you started to see indications of the kind of stuff that made him the number 1 player in the state of California coming out of high school, and why a lot of people think that he has number 1 stuff. We're going to talk with Coogan about exactly what you see there with the power sinker, the cutter that he's got. That is a terrific strikeout pitch for him. But I thought that getting the double play and having the good fortune to have that line drive go right at somebody was very, very big. Not to say nothing of the fact that through most of last year, LSU's defense was a liability at more than one position. Well, what have we seen so far this year? We've seen we've seen Jordan Thompson fielding with what appears to me to be a lot more confidence, a lot smoother. Gavin Dugas, who has not really played at second base, going all the way back to his first year at LSU, I think has handled the position very, very well. And it was a nice 6-4-3 turn in the 3rd inning. I thought Nate Ackenhausen did a fantastic job in relief. Mostly that he only walked 1 in 3 in the 3rd innings, and having a left-hander that you can depend on for multiple innings out of the bullpen, and I think that eventually Riley Cooper is going to join him out there. That is just invaluable. And Christian Little, I don't know if they want him to be the full-time closer or if they envision him as a starter somewhere down the road. But right now he's got 9 strikeouts in 6 2/3 innings, and he pitches a clean 9th. So for right now, if I'm coaching and I go to the 9th inning with a 1-run lead in the first week of the SEC, that's the guy and I got to bring somebody out of the bullpen. That's the guy I'm bringing out of the bullpen. I think that Jay Johnson and Wes Johnson probably feel that way right now. So all of that was good on the pitching. All of that was good on the defense. The one error was kind of a little funky bunt that Morgan pushed the throw wide of the bag at first. No big deal there. I'm not worried about Trey Morgan's defense over at first base. Now, on the other hand, LSU struck out 16 times last night after striking out 16 times in a game this past weekend. And, this is something that is not at the critical phase yet, but it is at least somewhat concerning that you're not, in some cases, even moving runners. This is not getting a key hit in a certain situation. Like in the 6th, the runners moved to 2nd and 3rd on a balk call, and then Neal strikes out. This is more like Tommy White leads off the 4th with a double, and then you got 3 straight strikeouts. Guy leads off with a double. He needs to score, as bluntly as I can put it. So is this something that is of great concern right now? Not yet, but I wouldn't be being completely honest if I told you I'm not keeping an eye on that, because the strikeout totals are high right now. Then, again, you got to say that LeBaron Johnson is a very highly rated prospect, is going to pitch in the big leagues. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's going to pitch in the big leagues. And that's a big-time arm over there, and that accounted for 9 of the 16 strikeouts. So give credit to the other guy, because he's pretty good, as was Becht on Saturday for Iowa. And, of course, Dugas' home run. Nice of me to bury the lead here, a 3-run home run to win the game in the 9th inning. It's no small thing. I tweeted this out last night, and I firmly, in in 35 years of watching LSU baseball, I firmly believe this, that guys like that that become leaders on your team, maybe they're not your best player necessarily, but those seniors, those guys that have been around for 4 years, man, the really great LSU teams, they all seemed to have one. They all seemed to have a Tim Lanier or a Tom Bernhardt or a Jeremy Witten. And, maybe for this team, that's Gavin Dugas. And look, LSU's had some great players that were 4-year guys. I mean, Blair Barbier was a 4-year guy. Brad Cressy was a 4-year guy. Eddie Furness was a 4-year guy. Blake Dean was a 4-year guy. But I'm not talking about the superstars at the very top of your roster. I'm talking about the guys that are just so entrenched in your program that they know everything that you want them to do, and they go out with a confidence level that you almost never find in a freshman. Sometimes, I mean, they're special players, of course, but that leadership, that guys like that, and they go down in, they go down in LSU baseball lore. I mean, Tom Bernhardt in the 97 postseason, man, the guy was a monster. Tim Lanier in the 96 series. If they would have known LSU was going to win the series, Lanier might have been the series MVP, a grand slam in the first game against Wichita State. These are the Pat Garrity's of the world, okay? The guy that comes off the bench and, has the game-winning hit against Texas A&M, and he ends up, being a 4-year guy. Those are the guys that that's just what LSU baseball is when it's going right. You've got one or two of those guys, and to me, Gavin Dugas is that guy. It would not have surprised anybody if he would have moved on after last year. He just said, listen, I've been here a while. The COVID year wasn't anybody's fault, but, I'm just ready to move on. I'm done with school. I'm done with college baseball. I'm going to get on with my professional career or, get on with my life, whatever. No, he came back, and I think we see through the first 8 games that he's going to be a really, really, really important part of this team. So, good win for LSU last night, 3-0 against Texas. We'll talk more about that game with Patrick Coogan when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge, looking to buy your vehicle. So easy to get an offer from Infinity of Baton Rouge, where you're looking to sell it to Infinity, trade it in for another vehicle. Even if you just want to find out what your vehicle is worth, you can get a quote in less than 15 minutes. There is no pressure to buy. The Certified Pre-Owned program, listen, we took advantage of this again this weekend, bought yet another vehicle from Infinity of Baton Rouge. When it goes through that rigorous inspection, they're going to back it up. A 6-year unlimited mile warranty for those vehicles that pass that inspection, and 1 full year of prepaid maintenance. Roadside assistance included in that package. And, of course, you're always going to have transparency in pricing when it comes to Infinity of Baton Rouge. So do what we do in our family. Go with somebody you trust, somebody that's going to make you feel comfortable through the entire buying process. It's Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. For the review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045 ESPN.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU Texas in baseball, preview Pels at Blazers, and senior night for LSU men's hoops. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Baseball at the Box podcast brought to you by Napa is posted right now. Dan Canterbury and I posting that this morning, updated fresh stuff for you. You can go to that at 1045ESPN.com or wherever you get podcasts. Let's bring in now former LSU Tiger, two-time national champion Patrick Coogan. Patrick, how you doing? Thanks for spending a few minutes today.
Charlie, I'm doing fantastic, and your timing is impeccable because I always love coming on shows the day after a win, right?
Right.
So we get to emphasize all the good stuff that happened instead of, wearing the L the night before, and we've got to talk about some bad stuff. So great job on the timing. I much appreciate it.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't text you until about 10 o'clock last night, after everything was over to come on the show. I want to talk about Thatcher Hurd first with you, and correct me if I'm wrong. You two share a little common bond, a little piece of trivia. Am I right in this, that both of you made your LSU debut against Southern? I think I'm remembering that right?
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that. But, yeah, you're exactly correct. I made my first start on a Tuesday, actually at Lehigh's Field. And Thatcher, of course, did it last week at Alex Box. So, yeah, wow, good stuff.
I remember that you pitched. Now, I don't remember how well you pitched. Do you remember how you pitched that day?
Let me just say it this way. I threw okay, but the Tigers won in the top of the ninth, or maybe the 10th.
Okay.
Scott Fitter came in to close the game, and I think he gave up a home run to tie the game up. And it was either the ninth or the 10th inning, and we won. And of course, that kept a long streak of having beaten Southern. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, just to another little link here. Didn't Fitterer transfer here from UCLA?
That's correct.
Okay, and so did Thatcher Hurd. So, man, look, it's just sometimes it just flows, right? Sometimes you just get it right.
So I guess by those assumptions, you're saying that Thatcher Hurd will become a NFL GM at some point in the future.
No. Well, I think he's got a future throwing a baseball. But when you look at him last night, Patrick, obviously he struggled in his first game against Southern last week, be it nerves or the long layoff since he's pitched in a real game or what have you. But what did you see last night? Because this is a guy that LSU is counting on to be a big piece of this staff.
Yeah, I saw a lot of what I heard you mention to open the show, in that the first inning was rough, and I'm going to go back to that. But and beautiful analysis of the inevitable too, because you got to have a great play or a big strikeout to turn that tide and not give up the ineligible two, especially when you throw 2 walks in there. So, the screaming line out to left and then the double play to get him out of the inning was clutch. I think what we're dealing with as far as Thatcher is he has a power sinker, right? He's a tall, hard throwing guy. It's a downhill, breaks into a righty power sinker. And sometimes when it's sinking so hard and heavy, it's really tough to control and get a feel for it. And so sometimes it takes you a few pitches, and you can feel it, and so you have the walk. But then you try to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Lessen the movement you get on it, and you leave it up in the zone, and balls get hit hard. And so I think we saw that in a microcosm in the first inning. Fortunately, they got out of the inning unscathed. I think, and just watching how he came back out in the second, and you can see kind of the changes and adjustments he's making in between pitches. I think, and if you know anything about the pitcher's lab out at LSU, I think that what you're seeing is a direct result of what they're doing inside that pitching lab. And, not only are they looking at the miles per hour and rotations per minute, but they've got some really neat technology that looks at the axis on in which the ball spins on, right? And so finger movement one way or another, or your grip and the pressure points that you're putting on the ball, which you really had no way to quantify, years ago. You can get that real-time information now. And so you can do little tweaks and see tangible feedback when you're in that pitcher's lab. And so I think guys know how to shape their pitches a little bit better and can feel that. And so when they're taking live bullets out on the mound during a game, they're able to instantly, pitch by pitch, make those adjustments. And I think that Hatcher did a great job doing that from the first and second inning. Because the results after that, you could see that downward sink. He was starting it down the middle where the hitter's got to commit to it, and then that thing dives right at his back foot. And it's a pitch that plays in any level of baseball, all the way to the big leagues. And he threw a majority of fastballs, which is telling. And so if you can get guys out with that power sinker and you're on like that, the pro prospects are all over you.
Patrick, is it a difficult mechanic to throw that pitch?
No, it's a fastball for him. It's kind of just the way his body mechanics work, and so he's just God given with the finger length and the way the ball comes off his fingers. He probably doesn't even know how he does it. Okay. He knows the little tweaks he can make that will affect the pitches in different ways. But I think, at birth, that was his birthright. And he was just going to be able to do that no matter what. I mean, certain people can. And can you learn it? Yeah, but it's not nearly as effective as the guy that was born with it. And he was certainly born with it.
You mean you're telling me God picks who gets to pitch?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
And that's why you and I are on the radio.
Well,
right
no,
now.
yeah, but you used to pitch. I mean, how come he picked you and not me?
I'm
just asking. I want to ask you about Christian Little too, because he has been fantastic in all 3 of the appearances that he's had so far. I didn't think of him as a closer when he came here, Patrick. I thought more that he would eventually find himself in the weekend rotation. But after watching him through the first 3, the high strikeout total, he doesn't really walk anybody. He works from ahead. He's got a classic delivery. I'm saying right now, and I don't know if it's going to be this way all the way through the end of the season, but right now, if I got a 1-run lead in the first weekend of SEC play going to the 9th inning, this is the guy I'm going to.
Yeah, between him and Ty Floyd, I think you're right. I think some of that changed a little bit with the injury to Grant Taylor. Because I think that was where they were going to go closer-wise. And then he obviously goes down, and so you have to replace that piece. And not that you have to replace it, because college baseball, it doesn't dictate that you have to have a stated closer, right? You can have multiple closers, or you can have a guy that's a closer finisher really, who can throw 3 innings. Like a Riley Cooper did some last year. Like I think you'll see Ackenhausen do some this year. Ty Floyd has done it already this year. But yeah, I think Christian Little fits into that mold pretty good from the standpoint is he throws a lot of strikes, right? And when you get in a high leverage situation at the end of the game, you can't afford to have a guy that's going to go out there and get free passes in a tight game. And so Christian Little checks all those boxes, a hard thrower, has a good breaking pitch, but number one, throws a lot of strikes. And so that's clutch for a closer to have that.
I want to ask you about a guy that didn't pitch last night, but has pitched on the first 2 Sundays of the season, and that's Chase Shores. I think because of the Taylor injury, he's probably in the starting rotation maybe sooner than they had anticipated, and so they've been very careful with him. Looks like it's a one-time through the order thing, and that's going to be it for now. For a pitcher that's that tall and who is adjusting to college baseball, but looks every bit the part that one of these days he's going to be a Friday night guy and a first-round pick, how do you see his development kind of evolving as the season goes on?
Classic freshman, talented, uber-talented freshman, where he's going to have his ups and downs. With this stature herd thing and the way that I think Jay purposefully did the rotation like that, I think he strictly did that, started Thatcher to start the season midweek is so he could pitch this game.
I agree.
And then we'll move to the starter role. So he goes to or not the starter role, but the weekend rotation role. So what do you do there? I think that Riley Cooper is a bullpen guy because I think his value to our team is to be able to throw 2-3 times in a weekend in high leverage situations or especially lefty on lefty situations. So with the stature replaced Riley Cooper and Shore stays, does Ty Floyd get a look at a starter? So I think they're still probably, looking at that, and maybe they'll use the 4-game series this weekend to experiment. Then they got one more non-conference weekend to kind of shore that up before they go into the start of SEC season. So I don't mean to give you not a direct answer, but I just don't think it's been decided yet. But I do really like Riley Cooper in the bullpen for multiple uses on a weekend.
Yeah, and they don't have to decide all of this right now. We're in week 2. I'll give you my comp for Shores, and feel free to tell me if I'm completely 100% off base with this guy. But I look at Chase Shores and I see a taller version of Zach Hess. And if you remember, Hess at the beginning of his LSU career was erratic. He was about 6'5". Shores about 3 inches taller than that, but he was erratic. But he just had electric stuff. He was throwing in the high 90s, and it took him until about April for it to really click that year. And once it did, it was a game against Tulane. I remember he got roughed up a little bit down in New Orleans, and then from that point forward, man, all the way through the end of the College World Series, he was almost unhittable. That's my hope for what happens with Shores. I don't know if it'll play out exactly that way, but that's my hope.
Charlie, do you remember growing up, or maybe even now, watching National Geographic, and they show the births of like giraffes, for instance, and the first few steps the giraffe takes, you know he's going to be tall and rangy and eat the leaves at the top of the trees and things, but they really can't walk very well, right?
Wobbly legs, yeah, wobbly legs.
That's it. So if you think about Shores from that perspective, he's now dealing with, he's had that body type for, a few years now, but now he's getting bigger and stronger. He's throwing even harder than he did before, and add in the bulk of adrenaline that comes with pitching at LSU in front of those crowds. And it's hard to keep those body parts in sync and repeat that delivery. And so I think Hess probably had some similar issues with bouts of adrenaline and just not knowing how to repeat the mechanics of where your body parts are going all at the same time in sync. And so you're exactly right. I think you see this guy get a couple more starts under his belt. Now they may come on a Tuesday night, which is fine. Is fine too, because he can play an integral role down the stretch of the SEC.
Cougs, we always appreciate the time, man. We'll catch up soon. I promise to only call you after wins. So, I'll
that's a luxury. It's not a necessity, but it's always more fun to have after a win.
If LSU goes undefeated in the midweek, you're gonna be a regular on the show. So let's hope
just make this a standing time if we don't lose anymore.
Right? Yeah. Something exactly.
Gotcha.
All right, Patrick. We appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Charles.
We'll take a break. We come back, do first class, second class, no class. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big Mike Sports Bar and Grill in Denham Springs, one of the mainstays out in the Denham Springs community. And coming up this week, they've been doing jitterbug classes. You want to do something with your significant other, something a little bit different, something to have a little bit of fun. They got the jitterbug classes at Thursday nights. It's a Swamp Pop Jitterbug at 6 o'clock. DJ on the stage following that. So it's a fun time. It's a fun night out. Saturday this week, Titanium Rain will be providing the live entertainment, live music every weekend at Big Mike's. Hot Ball Crawfish at 11 o'clock every day, 7 days a week. If you're rather boiled shrimp, rather have boiled shrimp, Monday nights is all you can eat boiled shrimp. So happy hour drink prices 3 to 7 weekdays and all day on Sundays starting at 11 a.m. Make it a part of your weekend plans and head out to Big Mike's on Aspen Boulevard in Denham Springs. Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, for the Wednesday edition of Game Time. Go see my boy Miguel at Modesto. Modesto on Burbank, right by Walk-Ons. It's the Wednesday edition of Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. from Modesto on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanny Time. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
I appreciate a good sense of humor. That's where I start with first class. The Celtics were playing the Knicks on Monday. Knicks have been playing pretty well of late. Garden was sold out. Celtics are, one of, if they're not the team to beat in the East, they're one of two teams to beat in the East, along with the Bucks. And Jason Tatum, of course, is a superstar. He got a technical foul for arguing about, a non-call on his way to the lane. And as this went on, he got increasingly more frustrated. You just kind of see it. Tatum is not overly animated. He's a pretty cool demeanor, calm demeanor is how I would describe him, and a great player. So as his frustration built, he just finally went over to the official, and this has got to be the funniest way anybody's been ejected in quite some time. He goes over to the referee and said, "I just want to tell you, this has been the best officiated game that I have ever played in." And they ran him. I liked the sarcasm. I thought it was funny. If you're going to get run, have a story to tell, right? It's like, what, Jason, what did you tell the referee? I told the referee that it was the best officiated game I've ever seen. And they threw him out. Like I said, I appreciate a little bit of humor. I like to have a little bit of fun with this. It doesn't have to be all serious all the time. Jason Tatum, for the most unique way somebody can get thrown out of a game. I got a double for second class here, which is good with a chance to be great. The NFL is set to reconsider now basically the push rule on the quarterbacks. Whether they're doing this because Philadelphia's had so much success with it, or they just decided that, the rule needs to be revisited, I don't really care. I just know that I think that this should be once again banned. The league had this rule in place for many, many years. They rescinded it in 2005, prohibiting a ball carrier from being pushed forward by his teammates. I'm all for running the quarterback sneak. I think it's one of the best plays in short yardage that you can run. And I've got no problem with a quarterback getting on his, guard's hip or his center's hip and, pushing forward for a first down. But you kind of lose me when you get, a tight end or a running back behind them pushing them. To me, that's not football. That's rugby. And I don't think that the game was ever intended to be played that way. The Eagles didn't do anything wrong. The Eagles were taking advantage of the rule. They have a quarterback who has unbelievable lower body strength, and they took advantage of it. Florida did this for years with Tim Tebow. I swear, for the entire time Tebow was at Florida, it seemed like their third down conversion percentage, if it was 3 yards or less, they got it like 104% of the time because Tebow was that strong. And Hurts is the same thing. I got no problem with Jalen Hurts, pushing forward behind an offensive lineman, but I'm not wild about them pushing him from behind. I don't think you should be able to do that. So it's good that they're looking at this rule. It would be great if they rescinded it because I don't think it's really a part of football. Now, the other part is draft combine. Good with a chance to be great. 9 LSU Tigers are going to the combine in Indy. It starts tomorrow. And I think that there, like every year, there's some guys here that can really move themselves up the draft board with good performances here. I'll tell you who I think might be able to move up the most, and then I'll go back and I'll give you a little bit of perspective on last year. The guy I think can move himself up the most is Anthony Bradford. Anthony Bradford, when he weighs in, this is gonna be what a lot of people are looking at. He was listed at LSU at 345 pounds. And I think that was pretty generous because I think he probably played even heavier than that. He's a massive man at 6'5", but 350 plus pounds is probably not his optimum weight. And I would point to a couple of guys who went to this combine in much better shape than what they played at LSU and moved themselves up and had terrific careers. One of them still playing. One of them would be Trey Turner, who played at LSU, I would say somewhere around 335 pounds, 340 pounds. He was a big man. He doesn't have the frame that Bradford does. But Turner showed up at the combine at 310 pounds. Looked like $1 million. I mean, he was leading the sprints and everything. He ended up going way higher than what was originally projected. Had a terrific career with the Carolina Panthers, got the massive contract, the whole deal. The other one is Ed Ingram. And I never thought Ingram played nearly as big as Bradford or Turner. But last year, Ed Ingram showed up at the combine in great shape and got drafted in the second round by the Minnesota Vikings and started all 17 games. So all of these guys have a chance to move themselves up. But I think Bradford's maybe got the biggest, because if he shows up there at, say, somewhere in the area of 300 and somewhere between 325 and 330, there's no substitute in the NFL for just having big road grading size. Everybody's looking for these massive, defensive linemen to plug on the interior. Somebody's got to block them. If Bradford shows up at 325 to 330 pounds, and I have no idea what he weighs, by the way, I think he can really help himself. He shows up at 355, 360 pounds, probably not going to help himself at all. Last year at the Combine, and we did a podcast on this yesterday if you want to check it out, went through all of them. I think pretty much every player helped themselves a little bit at the Combine last year. Now, for a couple, it didn't matter. It didn't matter for Derek Stingley. It didn't matter for Cade York. It's not going to be a big deal for kickers. But the guy that moved himself up the most last year, I thought, and maybe it was a combination of the Combine plus Pro Day, but it was Ty Davis-Price. Ty Davis-Price went in, like most running backs, they get downgraded a little bit. He went in with a third-day grade at the beginning of the process. And he ended up going to third round of the 49ers. And he was playing in the first part of the season quite a bit. Now, not after the McCaffrey trade, but that wasn't his fault. But Austin Deculus went in the sixth round. I don't think he had a draftable grade right after the season. Neil Farrell went in the fourth round. He showed up at the Combine at 330 pounds, which was probably about 20 to 25 pounds less than what he played at LSU. Cordell Flott didn't run at the Combine, but he showed up and in fantastic shape, went in the third round to the Giants. So, and then, of course, Ingram, who went in the second round to the Vikings. So I think that good with a chance to be great. All of these guys can help themselves at the Combine this week. We'll see what kind of shape they all show up in. No class this week goes to the New York City Department of Transportation. Here's a good idea that went kaplooey on them, just kind of embarrassing. They decided to put up a road sign for Jackie Robinson Parkway. That's a good idea. It's in Queens. Okay, Jackie Robinson. He played in New York with the Dodgers. All right, that's great. Except they misspelled Jackie. 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 They misspelled Jackie. They spelled it Jakie. How do you misspell Jackie Robinson's name? I mean, I could understand if it was Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, okay? I still can't say his name. If you misspell that, I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway. You can't misspell Jackie Robinson's name. I mean, the guys down at Duke did this right. They named everything after Mike Krzyzewski. They named the court after him. I'm sure there's a street somewhere over there, practice facility, dormitory, who knows? They named a bunch of stuff after Krzyzewski. They just call it Coach K. That's so they, you don't leave yourself open to misspelling it if you just say Coach K. There's some things that you can misspell. Jackie Robinson is not one of them, okay? So you get the New York City Department of Transportation gets a no class. It does remind me of it reminds me of the old joke, the LSU fan and the Alabama fan both die. They go to the pearly gates. St. Peter's there. Okay, guys, in order to get in to heaven, you have to take a spelling test. Each of you have to spell one word. If you get it right, you get in. If you don't, you're, sent to hell. And the LSU fan says, okay, what do I need? Spell house. Says, it's no problem. H-O-U-S-E. St. Peter lets him right in. The Alabama says, what do I have to spell? St. Peter says chrysanthemum. All right, wasn't a great joke. But anyway, you got to spell Jackie Robinson correct. And that is First Class, Second Class, No Class, brought to you by Supreme Rice. We'll take a break, come back, take some of your questions. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Here during the Lenten season, if you're observing Lent, so many great seafood ideas that you can put with your Supreme Rice. Crawfish etouffee, shrimp stew, seafood gumbo. The choices are really endless. Know that you're going to enjoy a delicious product, and you're going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers. Down in Crowley, Louisiana, since the 1930s, all of our Supreme Rice grown, milled, and processed down in Southwest Louisiana. So pick some up next time you're in a Rouse's, next time you're in a Walmart or a Walmart neighborhood store, the next time you're in any AG food store, look for Supreme Rice. In addition to the delicious quality of the rice, you're also going to stretch your food dollar. So whether it's the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine, our personal favorite, make it Supreme Rice. For your next family get-together, your next party, or just a regular old plate of rice and gravy on a Tuesday afternoon. Supreme Rice. For more information and some great recipes, go to SupremeRice.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call Hudco Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007.
On Thursday's OTB, LSU head baseball coach Jay Johnson joins us in the first hour to break down the big win over Texas. Plus, the latest fallout from the NFL Combine. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou for chat for some questions. First of all, condolences go out to the family of former LSU tennis coach Jerry Simmons. He passed away yesterday. Simmons was one of the coaches that was brought in by Bob Broadhead back in the early and mid 80s. Part of just a dynamic group that won a ton. Bob Broadhead hired Sue Gunner. He hired Bill Arnsparger. He hired Skip Bertman. He hired Pat Henry, and he hired Jerry Simmons, who is far and away the most successful coach in tennis that LSU's ever had. Best season that they had, they went 27-2 and lost in the national finals. Chris Warner, who's a friend of this show, wrote a book with Jerry Simmons a few years ago, and it's called Inside the Eye of the Tiger, and it is an unvarnished look at how LSU's athletic program functioned in the 80s and into the 90s. Let me just put it to you this way, and a lot of the principles that were in place at the time are no longer with us, but if you were in any way not a fan of Joe Dean, you will like this book, because Jerry Simmons was not a fan of Joe Dean. He was a big fan of Bob Broadhead. And some of the things that he implemented into the athletic department, and I knew Bob. Bob worked with us at the radio station after he was done in his sports administration career. Believe me when I tell you, it is an entertaining book. If you liked Sacked, if you ever read Sacked, which was Broadhead's book, which was a real inside working look at the athletic department and how dysfunctional it was at that time, believe me, you'll like Inside the Eye of the Tiger. Bob would have a tendency to embellish a little bit. Simmons's account was a kind of a third party's observer to what was going on in the athletic director's office through the tenures of both Broadhead and Dean. It's fascinating. Simmons was a fantastic tennis coach, and our condolences go out to his family. Ask Hanny, will you be sad to see the Longhorn Network go? No, not at all. I'm a big believer in conference. I believe that the conference should share everything equally. And I didn't blame Nebraska for, wanting out. I didn't blame the other schools in the Big 12 for, complaining at every turn about Texas. The SEC, for all of its faults, shares everything equally. And right now you're having a problem in the ACC where Florida State and Clemson are saying, hey, we want more money because we're more valuable to the conference. And I think the conference is more valuable as a whole. Texas has got to be told when they get into the SEC, you get one vote. That's it. You get one share. That's it. We are not going to cater to you at every turn. So, no, I'm not going to be at all sorry to see the Longhorn Network go. No class to the SEC for giving Coach of the Year to Dawn Staley and Player of the Year to Aaliyah Boston. Now, I got no problem with Staley winning Coach of the Year. Okay, I know Kim Mulkey had a great year this year, but South Carolina has pounded everybody. I know that was what they were expected to do, but there's something to being perfect. You get everybody's best shot, and you still go out there and just crush most of the field. That's hard to do. So I got no problem with Dawn Staley being Coach of the Year, but the Player of the Year should have gone to Angel Reese. If you look at any measurable statistic, Boston averaged 13 points and 9.7 rebounds per game. Angel Reese averaged 23.7 points a game and 16 rebounds a game. She was Player of the Week 7 times. I mean, roughly half the season, she was player of the week. I don't know how you can't be player of the year if you're player of the week that many times. So I didn't have a big problem with the Mulkey part. I could not understand voting for anybody other than Angel Reese for player of the year. Ask Hanny, did you enjoy the pairing of Ben McDonald and Kyle Peterson this weekend? Tremendously. Absolutely. My favorite broadcast team for college baseball is those two guys. And they don't get to do a lot of games together. So kudos to the guys at D1 Baseball for making that happen. I thought it was great. By the way, Kyle Peterson will be on the show with us on Friday at 12:30. So, yes, absolutely love that. Thanks to everybody for participating today. Tomorrow, Scott Rabelais will be with us. He'll be at the SEC Women's Basketball Tournament in Greenville. Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media will be with us. We'll talk about the Saints at the Combine. For Case of Gains, for Taylor Sharp, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.